I didn't mean to show up early for our anniversary dinner. The plan was to stroll in right on time, but the jeweler called to say he'd finished fixing up Jessica's grandma's diamond ring ahead of schedule. 5 years hitched called for something extraordinary, you know. When I rolled into the restaurant's parking lot, my eyes locked onto Jessica's car, sitting right beside Scott's flashy red Mustang with those custom plates you couldn't miss. Through the dark tint of his windows, I saw them clear as day, my wife, head tilted back, laughing hard, her hand resting on his chest, their lips locked in a kiss that wasn't meant for prying eyes. I just sat there, my truck's engine humming, staring at them for 3 minutes and 27 seconds, my phone's timer ticking away. I snapped a quick picture, killed the ignition, and walked off, the little velvet box still tucked in my jacket pocket. Right then, I knew Jessica wasn't just gonna walk out on me, she was gonna lose it all. I'm Alex Carter, but back in the day, I was Staff Sergeant Harper, a Marine Corps combat engineer. My gig was route clearance, hunting down and disarming IEDs so my fellow Marines could move without getting blown to bits. I was damn good at it, too, patient, precise, with an eye for the tiniest ripple in the dirt that others would gloss over. That knack for detail kept people alive. I met Jessica during my second leave from Afghanistan. She was slinging drinks at a bar near Camp Lejeune, all warm smiles and honey blonde hair that caught the light. Plenty of Marines were vying for her that night, but I was the one who walked away with her number. "You're not like the others," she told me later. "You actually hear me when I speak." We dated for 8 months before I got down on one knee. When I shipped out again, her letters came like clockwork, along with care packages stuffed with snacks and photos of the little house she'd picked out for us. She'd ask me about paint swatches or couch styles, making me feel part of it all. In the worst moments over there, thinking of her kept me sane. "Just 9 more months," she'd write, "and we'll kick off our real life together." Our wedding was small but just right, her in a simple white dress, me in my dress blues, standing proud. When I vowed to stick by her through thick and thin, for better or worse, till death do us part, I meant every damn word. For 3 years, life was good, or so I thought. I climbed to staff sergeant, she launched a little social media business, and we dreamed about kids and far-off vacations, building a future together. Then came my 4th deployment. 2 months in, our convoy rolled over an IED someone missed. I don't recall the blast, just waking up in a German hospital, my face half-burned, my femur shattered in a way that'd never quite mend, and a new stutter that tripped up my words. Jessica flew over to be with me. When she first saw me in that hospital bed, I caught a flicker of shock in her eyes before she plastered on a smile. She grabbed my hand, swore everything would be fine, that nothing had shifted between us. But deep down, I knew everything had. Getting better was a slog, and it hurt like hell. Physical therapy for my leg was brutal, but I gritted my teeth, picturing the day I'd stand strong next to Jessica again. Speech therapy was even tougher, knowing exactly what I wanted to say but feeling the words snag in my throat, refusing to come out right. At first, Jessica was right there with me, cheering me on, helping with my exercises at home. But as the weeks dragged into months, I started to see the cracks. It began with her impatience, she'd cut me off mid-stutter, finishing my sentences like I couldn't do it myself. Then came the sighs, so quiet you'd almost miss them, when I fumbled with buttons or when my leg buckled after a long day. "I'm hitting the gym," she'd say, and it went from a few times a week to every single day, sometimes twice. The gym wasn't just a workout for her, it was her way out, her escape from me. That's where Jessica crossed paths with Scott Turner, a personal trainer and fitness influencer, some ex-college jock with a chiseled jaw and abs that looked like they were sculpted by a damn artist. He was all about transformation journeys, turning regular folks into gym gods with what he preached as hardcore commitment, though I later found out he was peddling illegal supplements and steroids on the side. His name first popped up about 6 months after I got back home. Over dinner one night, Jessica tossed out, real casual, "Scott thinks I should give this new protein shake a shot." Then it was, Scott says high-intensity intervals are the way to go, or, Scott reckons I could actually compete in one of those fitness shows. I should have caught on right then, but I was too buried in my own rehab, pushing through pain and therapy, to notice how her face glowed every time she brought him up. The next clue hit when things got quiet in the bedroom. Jessica stopped being the one to make the first move. When I'd reach for her in the dark, she'd tense up for a split second before easing into it, like she had to psych herself up to touch me. More and more, she'd roll over, muttering about being wiped out from her brutal workouts. Scott says you can't skip rest if you want gains, she'd say, her back to me, voice barely above a whisper. Then there was her phone. It used to just lie around, forgotten on the counter or coffee table. Now, she clutched it like a lifeline, always angling the screen away from me. She added a fingerprint lock and late-night pings started coming in, sending her scurrying to the bathroom to reply. Just work, she'd brush off when I asked, avoiding my eyes. The fourth red flag was her friends. Women I'd known for years started giving me these weird, pitying looks when they'd swing by. If I walked into a room, their chatter would cut off, only to pick back up with fake smiles and some new, safe topic. One night, after a few too many glasses of wine, her friend Ashley let something slip while I was grabbing a beer in the kitchen. "Is it tough?" she asked Jessica, thinking I was out of earshot. "You know, sticking with him now that he's not the same." Jessica hushed her with a sharp, "We'll talk later." But the real gut punch, the one that finally ripped the blinders off, came 4 months back on a random Tuesday afternoon. I'd cut out early from a VA appointment and walked into our kitchen to find Jessica and Scott standing there. They weren't touching, not even close, but the air between them crackled with something I couldn't ignore. Scott sized me up, his eyes lingering on the scars crisscrossing my face, on the limp I couldn't hide as I stepped toward them. "Alex, meet Scott," Jessica chirped, her voice way too cheery, like she was overcompensating. "He's coaching me for that fitness comp I mentioned." Scott stuck out his hand, squeezing mine harder than necessary, like he was trying to prove something. "Heard a ton about you, man," he said, his smile cold, not even touching his eyes. "Thanks for your service." The way he said it, like I was some sad, broken thing to feel sorry for, made my teeth grind, but I gripped his hand back and nodded. "Good to meet you," I forced out, my stutter creeping in under his smug stare. His smirk was quick, but I saw it, and so did Jessica, who at least looked uneasy. "Scott was just heading out," she said, practically shooing him toward the door. As he strutted to his car, I caught Jessica's eyes trailing him, watching the easy, confident walk I'd lost somewhere in the desert. That night, I overheard her in the bathroom, her voice hushed as she talked on the phone. "No, he's got no clue. I know, I miss you too. Soon, I swear." The final straw came on a Sunday morning that started out like any other. Jessica had bolted for her morning cardio, which somehow always stretched into 3-hour marathons, leaving me alone in our bedroom, rummaging through drawers for a tie I needed for a VA interview. Her iPad, sitting on the nightstand, pinged with a new message. I wasn't trying to snoop, hell, I'd always respected her space, even with my suspicions piling up, but the notification preview stopped me cold. From Scott, sent the video to everyone. The message stopped at, "They can't stop laughing at him trying to." My gut churned as I grabbed the iPad from the nightstand. Jessica must have forgotten to lock it before she took off for her run, because it opened right up. The text was from a group chat called Operation Crippled Clown, and my hands shook as I started scrolling. There I was, in a video she'd secretly recorded last week, fumbling with the buttons on my dress shirt before a VA checkup. The camera zoomed in on my trembling fingers, and you could hear me in the background, muttering, "Son of a," as a button slipped and I had to start over. Scott had chimed in with, "This is why I always say, don't skip finger day, people." Someone named Ashley typed, "God, how do you even share a bed with that?" Jessica's reply hit like a punch, "I hardly do anymore. He's like a walking corpse who can't string 2 words together." I kept scrolling, my eyes stinging, barely able to focus. There were more clips, me grunting through physical therapy at home, my voice halting as I tried to talk to my mom on the phone, even me thrashing in bed during a nightmare while Jessica's voice mocked me in a hushed, cruel whisper. But the videos weren't the worst part. It was the messages, private details about our marriage, our dead-in-the-water sex life, spilled out for their amusement. Jessica wrote about how she'd shut down when I touched her, picturing Scott just to get through it. Scott fired back, "Once you've had the real deal, a busted-up guy like that can't compare." Jessica's response, "No lie. Just hearing him breathe kills the mood." There were pictures, too, Jessica and Scott in some hotel room, her in lingerie I'd never laid eyes on, him shirtless, her lips pressed against his chest. Texts laid out their plans to sneak around, crafting lies to feed me. The final blow was a voice message from Jessica, "If I hide his pills, he gets all twitchy, it's comedy gold." Last week, I stashed his anti-anxiety meds, and he tore the place apart looking for M. Nearly lost it completely. Scott says we gotta film it next time. They'd been messing with my PTSD on purpose, turning my pain into their private circus. I sat there for what felt like forever, the iPad heavy in my hands, reading every text, watching every clip, studying every photo. 3 years of marriage, reduced to their sick little game. The woman I'd loved, who'd sworn to stick by me through anything, was orchestrating my humiliation. Something in me shifted right then, the raw hurt hardened into something sharp and focused. I remembered who I was before that IED took half of me, calm, calculated, always 3 steps ahead. I'd cleared minefields for a living. I could handle this betrayal. I screenshotted everything, emailed it all to myself, and wiped any trace of my digging. I set the iPad back exactly where it was and walked out of the room. That night, when Jessica breezed in from meal prep with the gym crew, I forced a smile and asked how her day went. When she offered her cheek instead of her lips, I kissed it like nothing was wrong. I played the clueless husband, pretending I didn't know my life was their entertainment, because now I had a purpose. Like any good combat engineer, I needed time to map out my next move. My revenge wasn't gonna be some hot-headed outburst. It'd be cold, thorough, and surgical, like defusing a bomb. First, I had to dig deeper, gather more proof. The group chat was a start, but I needed the full picture of their betrayal and any weak spots I could use. I slipped a keylogger onto our home computer, the one Jessica used for her social media gigs. Within a few days, I had access to everything, her email, social media accounts, cloud storage, even her bank logins. What I found was uglier than I'd braced for. Scott wasn't just some gym rat coaching people to lift weights. He had a shady side hustle pushing illegal steroids and testosterone, not just to adults but to underage kids chasing their perfect physique. Jessica was in on it, funneling the dirty money through her legit business accounts to cover their tracks. They were plotting to ditch me, but only after they'd stashed enough cash for Scott to launch his own gym, and my disability checks were helping bankroll their big plans. While they laughed at me behind my back, I was quietly piecing it all together, bank records with sketchy transfers, texts setting up drug deals masked as supplement chats, and emails where they schemed about dodging taxes. Digital proof was a start, but I needed more, people who'd back me up when I dropped the hammer. I got in touch with an old Marine buddy who'd switched gears to journalism, digging into fitness industry scams. I hooked up with a divorce lawyer who knew her way around cases tied to financial fraud. Most crucially, I reached out to a detective in the local police department's narcotics unit, who'd been itching to bust the flow of performance-enhancing drugs to high school kids. My plan had 3 clear steps. First, I'd get myself ready. While collecting evidence, I'd quietly ramp up my recovery, keeping Jessica in the dark. I upped my physical therapy, telling her I was at PTSD support groups. I found a cutting-edge speech therapy program through the VA that worked wonders when I threw myself into it. I started lifting weights during the hours she was off with Scott. Second, I'd build an airtight case, hard evidence of their emotional cruelty, financial crimes, and drug peddling, all neatly packaged with dates, places, and supporting documents for the cops. Third, I'd set the trap. I'd wait for the ideal moment, a public event where their downfall would hit hardest, and then bring their world crashing down in one swift move. For 4 months, I played 2 roles. To Jessica and Scott, I was the same broken, clueless husband, fading away physically and mentally. They got cocky, careless. Jessica started having Scott over when she thought I was at therapy, even using our bed while I was supposedly at VA appointments. But the real me? I was getting sharper, stronger. My speech smoothed out big time with relentless therapy. My leg would never be 100%, but daily workouts had my limp almost gone. I could walk without a cane if I focused. The spark for the final step came when I learned they were throwing a launch party for Scott's new line of all-natural supplements, products I knew were laced with illegal stuff. The event was a fancy, invite-only deal at a swanky downtown spot. Jessica RSVP'd solo. The invite she shared in their group chat had a note from Scott, VIPs only. Top dogs and the women who belong with them. No losers, no war relics, no charity cases. They were kicking off their new life on our wedding anniversary. It was almost too perfect. The week before the party, I locked in every detail. My journalist buddy was ready to drop a bombshell exposé the morning after the event. The narcotics detective had a warrant lined up, thanks to the evidence I'd handed over. My lawyer had divorce papers drafted, plus a civil lawsuit against Jessica for emotional abuse, defamation, and illegal recordings. The night of the party rolled around. Jessica got ready in our bedroom, slipping into a sleek new dress I'd never seen before. Heading to a hospital fundraiser, she lied without missing a beat when I asked about her plans. It'll probably run late, so don't wait up. I gave her a nod, playing the role one last time. Have a good time, I said, faking the stutter on purpose, catching the quick flinch she tried to hide at my choppy words. Once she was out the door, I got to work. I hopped in the shower, shaved off the beard I'd been hiding behind, letting my facial scars show in all their raw glory. I slipped into my sharpest black suit, pinned my service medals to my chest, and stood up straight, using every trick I'd learned to keep my limp in check. When I caught my reflection in the mirror, I didn't see a broken man, I saw the Marine I used to be, back in fighting shape. I rolled up to the venue about 45 minutes after the party kicked off. The bouncer scanned the guest list, frowning when he didn't find my name. I'm here with Scott Turner, I said, my voice clear as a bell, no trace of a stutter. Staff Sergeant Alex Carter. My wife, Jessica, should already be inside. The metals glinting on my suit and the steel in my tone did the trick. He waved me through. The place was buzzing, packed with fitness influencers and moneyed types schmoozing under thumping music. Giant screens looped slick ads for Scott's so-called all-natural supplements. I spotted them right away, Scott holding court, his arms slung around Jessica's waist, her head resting on his shoulder as they chuckled with their clique. Around her neck was my grandma's diamond necklace, the one she'd called too dated to ever wear. I moved through the crowd with purpose, my steps steady. Heads turned, conversation stumbled as I passed. I locked eyes with my journalist buddy, stationed near the DJ booth like we'd planned. He gave me a subtle nod. Then I reached their little circle. Scott noticed me first, his laugh dying on his lips, his face going stiff. Jessica followed his stare, and the color drained from her cheeks like she'd seen a ghost. Hey, folks, I said, my voice loud and smooth, cutting through the noise. Sorry I'm running late. Scott snapped out of it, his grip tightening on Jessica. Alex, what the hell are you doing here, man? This is invite only. I met his eyes, unflinching. Oh, I know what this party's about, I said. It's where it all starts to unravel. Jessica stepped up, her shock giving way to fury. You need to get out of here. You're making a fool of yourself. I just smiled. Nah, I'm right on time for the main event. I turned and headed for the DJ booth, where my journalist friend was ready. I slipped him the USB drive loaded with everything, the videos, the texts, the bank records. "Let it all play," I said, loud enough for the folks nearby to catch it. The music cut off. The screens flickered. Then Jessica's voice blasted through the speakers, sharp and clear. "If I hide his pills, he gets all twitchy, it's hilarious." The room went dead quiet. The screens rolled on, flashing screenshots of their group chat, cruel jabs, videos they'd snuck of me struggling. Then came the real kicker, footage of Scott handing steroids to a high school kid in the gym parking lot, and records of Jessica laundering the cash through her business. I watched their faces as their dirty secrets spilled out for all to see. Scott made a break for the DJ booth, but two plainclothes cops, waiting for my cue, stepped in his way. "Scott Turner," one said, "all business, we've got a warrant for your arrest, distribution of controlled substances, tax evasion, and fraud." As they slapped cuffs on him, I walked back to Jessica, who stood there, frozen, watching her perfect life implode. "What did you do?" she whispered, her voice catching, stumbling over her words for the first time ever. I reached into my pocket and pulled out 3 envelopes. "First, divorce papers," I said, handing her the top one. "Second, a civil lawsuit for emotional abuse, defamation, and illegal recordings," I went on, passing her the next. "And here's proof that the house, passed down from my granddad and legally mine alone, got new locks today, she's out as of now." Tears poured down Jessica's face, her mascara streaking. "Alex, please, let me explain," she begged, her voice shaking. "No need," I cut her off, calm and cold. "Your videos and texts did all the talking. Oh, and the cops have warrants for your phone, laptop, and cloud accounts, don't bother trying to wipe anything." More officers pushed through the stunned crowd, heading straight for Jessica. One stepped up to us. "Ma'am, you need to come with us to answer questions about your role in Mr. Turner's illegal operation." As they led her away, I turned to face the gaping crowd. "Folks, sorry for crashing the party," I said, my voice steady and loud. "As you can see, Scott's natural supplements are anything but. There are FDA agents outside waiting to talk to any athletes or investors tied to this launch. The rest of you might want to check tomorrow's headlines before linking your names to these two." With that, I walked out, my head high, feeling stronger than I had in years. By morning, the story was everywhere, local news, fitness blogs, you name it. My journalist buddy's exposé pulled no punches, laying out not just the shady supplement scheme but the cruel emotional abuse I'd been through. Scott's bail got shot down after they found evidence he was ready to skip the country. He copped a plea to a stack of felony charges, landing 8 years in federal prison. His assets got seized, his gym shuttered, his social media fame erased. Jessica dodged jail by spilling everything to the prosecutors, but the fallout hit her hard. The divorce went through fast, and the judge gave me everything. The civil lawsuit for emotional abuse, defamation, and illegal recording slapped her with a judgment that'll drain her paychecks for years. Every brand she'd worked with cut ties overnight. In a last-ditch effort to save face, she posted a sobbing video online, painting herself as Scott's victim. The internet tore her apart, veterans and their families rallied around me, fitness pros distanced themselves, and old clients demanded their money back, seeing her, consulting, for the fraud it was. 2 months after the party, I bumped into Ashley, Jessica's friend from that damn group chat, at a coffee shop. She tried to duck her head and avoid me, but I walked right up to her table. "Hey, Ashley," I said, letting a small stutter slip into my voice on purpose. She flinched, her eyes glued to the table. "Alex, I'm so sorry for everything," she mumbled. I pulled out a chair and sat across from her. "Nah, you're not sorry. You're just pissed you got caught. Big difference." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "You destroyed her life. She's crashing in her sister's basement, can't get a job." I leaned in, my stare hard. She trashed her own life when she thought mocking a wounded vet was funny, when she helped push steroids to kids, when she broke every promise she made to me. I stood up, moving smooth, no hint of a limp. Choices come with a price, Ashley. Think about that before you sign up for another Operation Crippled Clown. Me. I found my calm. The folks running the experimental speech therapy program asked if I'd mentor other vets dealing with injuries like mine, and I jumped at the chance, finding real meaning in helping them take back their voices. I sold the house, too many ghosts lingering in those walls, and picked up a cozy cabin up in the mountains, a spot I'd always dreamed of calling home. I got back in touch with buddies from my old unit, no longer hiding my scars or the occasional stumble in my speech. Sometimes folks ask if I wish I'd kept my revenge low-key, maybe just split from Jessica quietly and moved on. I tell them nah, it wasn't just about her and Scott. It was about proving to everyone who snickered at those videos, who felt sorry for me or counted me out, that scars don't decide how strong you are. Half a year after that launch party went down in flames, I got a letter from a young Marine recovering at Walter Reed. He'd caught the news, recognized my name from the coverage. "You showed me that coming back changed doesn't mean coming back beaten," he wrote. "Patience isn't giving up, it's playing the long game." That letter's framed on my cabin wall now, a quiet reminder that the pain of betrayal can hammer you into something tougher than you ever were. Jessica thought she was watching me crumble. She didn't see I was gearing up for the fight. And that's the wrap on my story for today, folks. If you liked it, give this video a quick thumbs up and toss a comment down below. Your support really helps get my stuff out there. If you're new around here, hit that subscribe button, it means a ton and keeps me rolling out more stories for you. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you in the next one.